If you're struggling to build the attraction and the warmth and the physical affection in your relationship, then you're going to want to pay attention to today's show, which is where I'm going to go over the 7 different ways that you can increase attraction in your spouse. Now, this is a complaint, a problem that a lot of people come into private sessions with, whether they come together or they come alone. A lot of people say to me, hey, Dr. John, there's not enough sex, or the sex quality isn't good, or I just don't feel connected. I feel like my spouse doesn't think I'm attractive anymore, or she doesn't desire me, or he doesn't like the way I look. And the truth is that there's a very small percentage of that that's actually your physical appearance. So if you have gained a significant amount of weight, or there's been some serious health issues, sure. I mean, I'll give you an example. Sometimes, especially during infertility treatments, women might gain a substantial amount of weight because of the hormone treatment. Sometimes that can have a pretty radical impact on somebody's physical attraction. But here's the thing. Your body is human, and it wants to have a physical connection. All babies need to be held. All adults really do need a physical connection that's sexual in nature, unless you are one of the, tiny percentage of people who's asexual. All of us, all the other ones of us out there really do need to be held, to have sex. And so your body will take over. Oftentimes, some homework that I assign couples is, look, I understand you're not ready to have sex. Just lay in bed in your underwear or naked together and see where it goes. If it goes nowhere, no pressure. But oftentimes just a massage without the intention of sex, laying down naked, your bodies take over, especially when the lights are off. I mean, how many of us really need to have a rock hard 6-pack if it's pitch black or close to pitch black when you're kind of doing the duty, right? You don't need to be the most amazing physical shape of your life to have wonderful sex. And so this is a misconception people have. What you really have to work on is the closeness in the relationship, so that you can have opportunities where your bodies kind of come together and can explore. So the first step, the first way that you can kind of increase these opportunities is to work on the emotional connection. Prioritize the emotional connection. If someone feels close to you, if they feel like that you care about them and that their needs are a priority for you, that is the definition of increasing the emotional connection, right? It has to be communicated. You can't just do everything for the person and not talk about it and not also exchange some sweet verbal communication. That's a mistake some people make. But if you work on your emotional connection, laying down next to each other on the couch, right? Laying down next to each other in bed, saying, hey, why don't we take some clothes off? No pressure. Let's just try, and see if our bodies take over. That is a surefire way to kind of increase the attraction, because the emotional connection makes someone feel cared for. It makes them feel like they're lucky to be in the relationship. And again, if the lights are off or dim and your bodies are allowed to crave what they want to crave in a healthy, safe environment, it will evolve into some good sex. Number 2 is to show appreciation for your partner regularly. This is another way, again, to increase the closeness on an emotional level, but people love to be needed. They love to be appreciated. It goes back to the sense of purpose we have in this life. A purposeless life feels wasted, empty, void, and it's very difficult to move through life when you don't feel like you have some meaning. Kids are kind of the ultimate meaning for most people, which is why you hear parents, including myself, being so proud of being a parent and will defend their kids with their life, because it gives their life kind of instant meaning and purpose. Now, some people don't snap up to the parenting, call of duty as they should, and they need other purpose. I see this a lot with very wealthy clients who are kind of born into money. They have an aimlessness sometimes about them. And that sense that they've been given everything and they haven't earned it kind of gives them this sense of like, I don't, what's my role in this world? And they're a bit lost and a bit, bored because they don't have the purpose. And when you have so much money, there's no real reason to work and pursue sometimes because the motivation for the financial remuneration isn't there, so they get aimless. In a relationship, it's no different. If you feel like you don't have a role in your relationship, if your partner does everything and you do nothing in return, or you don't know how to make them happy or what they need because they're so independent, whatever it is, you won't feel good in the relationship. You'll feel like you're a waste of space. And so making sure that you communicate with your partner that they are appreciated, that goes a long way in making them feel needed, making them feel like the relationship has a purpose. It brings them together, it puts a positivity in their mind, and it works in your favor for attraction, because everybody loves the people who love them at the end of the day. You know, you want to be around people who like you. It's just natural, unless you have some other psychological issue. Number 3 is maintaining your physical health. Now, I said earlier, you're going to say, hey, Dr. John, you're contradicting yourself. You're saying that physical appearance doesn't matter. And the truth is, there's always a limit, right? So, and there are things you can do to kind of whatever God gave you and whatever state you're in, you can make it optimize to be as good as possible. So if you have gained 100 pounds, maybe you shouldn't be wearing, the same clothes that you were wearing when you were, 100 pounds lighter and squeezing into things. Dress for your body size. I am not George Clooney. I'm not a hobbit. I'm not George Clooney. I'm somewhere in the middle, like most of us. And so I have to wear, some looser clothes that are comfortable, but also kind of complement the way I look. And by the way, if your wife or your husband doesn't like a certain piece of clothing you own, don't wear it. I know that might be controversial to some people, but if my wife says, "Ooh, I don't like that jacket," guess what? Unless I'm going to be somewhere where she's not, I'm not wearing that. And that includes pajamas, by the way. If your husband thinks that your sweats are ugly, go get some cute pajamas. It doesn't hurt to get a nice pair of pajamas, right? And so you want to optimize. That includes grooming, right? So if you're a guy and you don't groom your beard or your hair, or you shave, whatever it is that makes you look as good as possible. And there's no harm in asking, do you like it when I shave, or do you kind of like the more 5 o'clock shadows? Some women are into a slightly dirtier look. When I say dirtier, edgier, I should say, right? And make sure you smell good. Olfactory is a big part of it. Brush your teeth, kind of basic hygiene 101. But if you're kind of lazy about taking care of yourself or flossing, you gotta kind of, those are easy wins that take minutes and make a big impact, because it shows that you care enough about the way you look, smell, appear as a sign of respect for your partner. So that's a big thing that a lot of people don't take seriously enough. And it's surprising. I mean, I can't tell you how many people have come into session not smelling great, right? And it's not because they just came back from the gym. They just don't take it seriously. They don't shower in the morning. They don't put on their nicest clothing. And I say, look, let's work on your self-esteem, your appearance a little bit. When you look good, you feel good. So that's number 3. Number 4 is to invest in your appearance, right? So if you, again, it goes back to those pajamas, right? If you feel like your body needs a little bit of a tune-up, then, you can invest in a personal trainer. You can invest in a slightly new wardrobe if you're not trying to change your body shape. If you feel a lack of confidence in a part of your body and you have the funds and you want to have elective surgery, sometimes that's appropriate. I mean, you do need to feel good about yourself and the way you look in order to be confident and project that image in your relationship. So sometimes, I'm not a fan of elective surgery just for the sake of getting it, but if it's the difference between you walking through the world with a tremendous amount of confidence and there's little downside, then I'd say go for it, especially if it's a somewhat routine procedure, right? So breast implants, augmentation, as long as you're going to someone who's been doing it for a while, that's actually a pretty safe and standard procedure these days. There are always risks, or rhinoplasty. Again, if you go to somebody who has a good reputation, generally speaking, those go pretty well. But there are risks. I do know people who've had to have revisional surgery, so know what you're getting into. But investing in your appearance so that you feel confident. Hopefully you don't have to go as far as surgery, and a new wardrobe or some makeup or a haircut will even make a difference. But it's okay to spend a little bit of money, time, and energy to make yourself look good for your own confidence and for the confidence of your partner. Now, going away from the physical and kind of going back to the relationship itself, number 5 is to create shared experiences. One way to build the intimacy in your relationship is to actually connect with your partner. And the way to do that is to have shared experiences. Now, a lot of us watch TV with our partners, and that's great. It's expected. But what else can you do? Can you go try a cooking class? Can you go to a new site, a new vacation you've never seen, a sightseeing kind of exploration? Is there a hike that you've been wanting to try? Is there a part of the city both of you lived in that you've never gone to that you'd like to go to? I've lived in LA my whole life. I've never been to the Griffith Observatory. It might be nice to take my wife there and actually experience it, just as an example. All right, so having these shared experiences, what do? They create a shared history, a shared narrative of who you are as a couple, and it brings you closer emotionally, which gives you more opportunities to want to connect. And then again, the bodies take over. Now, number 6 is to keep the intimacy alive. One of the things that happens in every single relationship I've ever seen, good or bad, is complacency. We get used to people just being in our lives and we take them for granted, because the truth is, if you were going to be romantic every day of the week, it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work to put that thought in. But when we see how much work it is, we just kind of check out and we don't do anything. And that's not the right approach either. You want to be able to say, okay, I see that it's a lot of work. What if I just do it once a week? Or what if I just do it twice a month? Do these kind of romantic gestures, do these small things. And that big event that I threw for my husband or my wife, that took a lot of energy. But what about the small things? What about leaving a cupcake on his or her desk to say, with a little note that says, I love you? Those things really make a very big difference. It's very difficult for me to sit with a couple and I say, well, what has your husband, I'll just, it's gender neutral, but if I say, what has your husband done for you lately? And the woman says, well, every Wednesday he brings me a little cupcake, and on Fridays we have our date night, and Saturday nights he'll give me a massage, and sometimes he'll run me a bath, and and I'll say, and why are you unhappy again? And if she has a complaint, I'll be like, you're crazy, you're out of your mind, right? Unless he's beating you or financially abusive or something, if he's doing all that, how are you not falling in love with him more and more every week? It's very difficult for people to have these little bursts of romance, as small as they are, on a consistent level, and not want to be physical with people, not be viewed as attractive. It's very difficult. I mean, if you're in a relationship, you were attracted at one point, I'm assuming. And so getting back there is really an emotional hurdle, and doing these little things make a huge difference. And then the last one, number 7, that I'll tell you, is to create mutual goals. Sometimes when you're sitting there in bed and you look around and you see your same old bedroom, and you see your same old things that you always see, and the same kids and the photos on the wall, sometimes it feels like life is stuck and you feel stuck. But if you have mutual goals, if you have big things that you guys go over and do together, or even just cheerlead each other, that creates a sense of purpose again, and a sense of continuity where you're actually moving and pushing forward through life with a purpose and a sense of meaning. I'll give you an example from my own life. My wife, I'm so proud to say, just became officially a psychologist. She got her PsyD. I had nothing to do with it other than saying, you can do it, I'm here for you, listening to her doctoral dissertation and being her cheerleader. But as she does it, guess what? As soon as she accomplishes it, we get to go out for drinks, we get to share, we get to be excited together. And sometimes just being the cheerleader is having that shared goal. Sometimes you do things together, like buying a new house, or taking that vacation you've always wanted to do. But celebrating those wins, and also, by the way, not suffering, that's a strong word, but struggling together in some of the obstacles in those goals is also important. I mean, there were moments during my wife's doctoral journey where she really felt deflated, and being there for her brought us closer together. And goals do that. There's going to be peaks and valleys in any kind of worthy goal that you have, and doing it together as a couple breathes life into your relationship. You are living through those goals. Kids do it automatically. You want to get your kid through preschool, then kindergarten, then you want to make sure they get good grades and they get into a good high school and college. All those are goals you share and you celebrate and you struggle together. Brings you closer, not just with your spouse, but with your children as well. Have those goals, talk about them, make sure it's clear. And the more you share, the more you can actually come closer together, bring that warmth and intimacy back into the relationship. I'm Dr. Jon Dabach, and I'll see you next time.